While he's getting this ready, I do want to thank the church for the support and really just for the prayers. I definitely felt them traveling there and back, and I felt them down there. What an experience it was to see all that stuff. You know, you hear all this stuff about people not having much. You hear it, I mean, for us, it just kind of goes through one ear and out the other, and we don't think nothing of it. But to really just see all that, people really don't have anything. We're blessed.
Amen.
To say the very least, we are blessed. Now, there's a verse that stuck out to me I wanted to share with you guys. Mark 16:15 says, "And he said unto them, Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature." And that's kind of what the plan was to do when we went down there. Now, as far as how many people got saved, I don't know. But seeds were definitely planted. And that was our main mission, was to go down there. Now, if you remember, back when I first heard about this, our plan was to go to Sao Paulo, Brazil, which is about a 4 or 5 hour plane ride from Manaus, Brazil. But due to COVID restrictions, COVID being a little bit higher down there, they recommended us go somewhere else. So God opened up the door to go to Manaus. Manaus is about 5 times the size of Knoxville. So you're looking about 12 to 13 million people there in Manaus. Sao Paulo being quite a bit bigger, about somewhere between 16 and 18 million people in that country, or in that city rather. Now, a lot of people consider Brazil as a third world country. Now, don't get me wrong, places in Brazil are third world. They don't have much. Where we were, they were third world. Brazil is not necessarily a third world country, so to speak. I can give a little bit more detail later on that. The mission team that went up there, you see the people there. I've got me on the right, and then Colin and Rebecca Coots to my right, Mike and Susan DeLand, which is my aunt and uncle, if you guys don't know that, Scott Parton, and then you've got Tanner and Lana McDowell on the far end here. Now, the thing about Tanner and Lana got married the day before we left. So I can officially say I have went on somebody's honeymoon. But they had just got married, and I think that Friday, or that week before, something like that, Tanner had just got ordained. So it was an eventful week for them two, to say the least. But that right there, funny story about the little swan. Mike and Susan are out of Swan Pond Baptist Church, and so is Scott Parton. Scott Parton is a deacon out there. But that swan, Mike had just went back into his office to grab somebody's phone. Somebody forgot it. And he noticed that swan. He just grabbed the swan. And the plan was to just take him on a van ride down to Atlanta, leave him there. We got down to Atlanta. We stuck him in the backpack, and Swan went with us. So we had a little, I called him Jerry. Nobody disagreed with me. Nobody agreed with Jerry, but we just stuck with Jerry Swanee. That's just the name for him. But Monday was one of our travel days. I think that was a 9-hour flight to Sao Paulo, and then a 4-hour flight back to Manaus. If you ever go on a plane ride like that, I would not recommend, but doing this trip, it's worth it. But Monday was spent traveling, doing some more. When we got there, we was meeting the rest of the mission team down there. They had already had a mission team down there, but there was a first for a lot of us. As far as the group goes, the only one down there that went to Brazil was my Uncle Mike. He's the only one down there. And the mission team that was hosting us down there, this is the first time they ever hosted a mission team. So it was a lot of building a foundation for other mission teams to come down there and set up the work when they get down there. So that's one of the homes that we were able to go into. We had some little Bible study that day, a little time of worship in those houses. This is one of the nicer places to live in Brazil. There is some air conditioning in this little condominium. It's like a gated community, somewhat like that. But this guy right here, after we, got there, we did a prayer walk through this community. It's called the CDL community, also known as the City of Lights. The City of Lights is where we've done most of our work. It is a pretty beat up little town, little city. The roads are not concrete, it's all dirt roads. Trash everywhere, sewage going down the side of the road. It's nasty. And they live like that because they don't have any money. But this guy right here, his name is Mario. Now, all that stuff we have right there is handmade. The things that we bought from him was probably an equivalent, probably $50 in our money. That was his monthly salary. And here we are complaining about money. Roughly about 250 Hai for him was a monthly salary. And all he's doing is just making these handmade stuff, and he's just getting to get by in his way of life. But Tuesday, actually I think the Tuesday was a prayer walk. This church right here on the left is the church we've done a lot of our work in. It is, I believe it's Igreja Batista Proclame. It's Proclamation Baptist Church is what it translates to. It is a beautiful church. As you can see, it's kind of shaped like a Bible when they built it. The inside of it is right under it. If you guys can see that, it is a beautiful church. When I say this is the light of that community, this is the light of that community. That is the nicest building in this little community here. And that road right there is actually the road going in front of the church. Those little buildings right there is what they live in. The bricks are they're cheap. The mortar is most of the time is hand mixed. That's kind of what we were doing when we got on construction days. But we walked through the community there, picking places, praying for these people. We done some prayer time inside the church. They're going through some pasture things right now. But to the right, we were driving through the community there. Me and one of the guys that was hosting us, Danilo. That is one of their soccer fields. That's a community's soccer field. Now, that looks like just a bunch of dirt, but there's rocks in it. And a lot of I think I counted maybe 3 Brazilians with actual tennis shoes on. Everybody else was in flip-flops or barefoot. So even the little things with our shoes, we're so blessed. They're trying to do a work in the community there where that church is. Let's see. I think I went too far. Did I go too far? No. All right. So Tuesday, another part of the day was we spent with the Chacuna tribe. That T is a CH sound, Chacuna. This is the indigenous people, a different part of the indigenous people. They have their own little land that the government has allowed them to use. It's right on the edge of the jungle is what they do. That little hut right there to the left is one of their houses that they live in. That is on the bottom here. That is that's Scott Parton, and then another guy that was helping guide us. Trent right there, Trent and his wife and his family, they do a lot of the things with this specific tribe as far as church services, teaching them the Bible. And obviously it's all in Portuguese. But they have their own they're not like services like we have today. We have here, just because they meet in their house. They have a couple songs. Trent usually does some kind of Bible story. Bible stories go a long way with them down there. But that to the right is a couple of he's not the chief, but he's one of the elders. He's very, very respected elder. Now, we only seen about 20 of these people from this tribe. There's quite a bit more. So you guys just kind of pray for them. Val, sitting right there, he's a part of the Chacuna tribe. we'll get into him here in just a few minutes. He's a very, very specific person I want to talk about. But while we were doing that, having a little bit of worship with them, we had some balloon animals. Balloon animals was a big hit with these kids, with the Chacuna tribe and all the other kids that we were dealing with in the community. They were a big hit. Now, I don't know how to make a balloon animal. I can just blow them up. So don't ask me if I can make you a little balloon dog. Can't do it. But we spent that day playing some soccer. That was actually their soccer field. Their soccer field is actually in a little bit more worse shape than the one I just previously showed you, but we spent some time with them. And I know Mark, he teaches and preaches on, meeting people's physical needs, trying to get them to get to know that person before you meet their spiritual needs. And that's kind of what we were doing that day, was trying to get to know them a little bit. But that night, we had a little Bible study with the youth at the CDL church. Tanner right there in the top right corner was doing his Bible study with the youth. There was another guy, Scott was helping him a little bit with that. But to the bottom right corner there, this was a birthday party we were invited to. Her name was Anna. Anna was turning 15. 15 down there in Brazil is a big number for the little girls, ladies. 15 is a big number. I thought I had really good birthday parties. I did. But there was speech after speech, crying. And honestly, I'm a little bit jealous, just being completely honest with you. But they had a bunch of people there celebrating her. That's kind of what we done that night. But Wednesday, let me look at my notes here because I don't remember exactly. Wednesday was one of our construction days. Just an insight of what this is. This drink is called Guaraná. This is a Brazilian soda. In case some of y'all were wondering, Scott right there on the right, he packed a whole suitcase full of this stuff and took it home with him. The baggage was about 50 pounds carry-on max. He had about 47 pounds of this stuff in one suitcase. All right, so we drank, I don't know how much of that stuff, but that's kind of what we were into most of the week as far as drinking wise. But this was also one of our this was our construction day. Our first construction day, I should say. But this lady's house is a lady that's part of the CDL church. Her name is Josie. It's kind of spelled like Rosie, but it's Josie. She's got 4 other sisters. She's got 5 kids. What they were doing here was they meet at her house every Thursday for a women's Bible study. So what we were doing was building a porch shed thing in front of it. So all them walls there and the roof that was right there was not there 2 weeks before we got there. What they had done was to set up for us to help them. They had already built up the walls and put the roof over our head. Now let me tell you, the humidity down there was astounding. So I say that we were blessed to have them go ahead and put the roof on for us would be an understatement because it was hot. But the goal was while we were down there is to pour this concrete slab. It was all hand mixed. 3 wheelbarrows full of sand, 3 wheelbarrows full of rock, and a bag of concrete and some water. Now water was we had enough of it. I'm not entirely sure where they got the water because they don't all have running water in their house. So I'm not entirely sure where they got it. It's not clean. None of their water is clean. But all this is hand mixed. You're probably looking at a space probably about as big as this stage here. And then we helped them pour concrete. And really, what a blessing it was to see them. They actually had sent us some photos after we had left that Thursday night. They were so excited to be able to meet under a roof, a concreted roof, to have their women's Bible study that night. But Wednesday we also was their service night, was their Bible study. I had actually got an opportunity to share my testimony that night with them, and so did Scott here. Now, I will say, speaking with a translator is very different. If you've never done it before, it is very different because you've got to, obviously, you've got to say something, You got to say it slow, and then they'll repeat it. And it gives you a little bit of time to think. But at the same time, it's very different from what we're used to. But Colin Coots, he actually gave the Bible study that night. And then if you can't see this, on the bottom left corner here is their pastor, their coming pastor. What we were doing before the Bible study was a mock ordination. He is getting ready to be ordained. He had actually come out of the Catholic Church. He was part of the Catholic Church, I believe, for 30 years. And then I forget all of his testimony, but he had got saved. He announced his call to preach. And then here recently, he feels like God has called him the pastor of that church. And they have voted him in. And he's getting ready to be ordained to do that. But we also had a little bit of worship in there. As far as worship goes, some of these songs, we had done our own little worship song in English, and then some of the worship was in Portuguese. So we just kind of went back and forth with one another in different languages, which is very interesting, to say the least. Well, if it'll go. There it goes. All right, so Thursday was our second construction day. We were finishing up Hosie's porch there. That is her and two of her sisters, and I forget which little boy he belonged to. But as you can see, we had to move that outside, and Thursday was probably one of the hotter days to work outside, and which was very strange because it rained every single day, but it was in their dry season. So we have come to the conclusion that God was watching over us and giving us some cooler weather while we were working outside. But we don't really know why it was raining every day in their dry season. But the next construction, that is it finished right there on the top left. The next construction was to get started a foundation. Now this lady right here, her name is Eunice. She is out of another tribe. She is the chief of her tribe. She had just got back from a 3-week deal with a couple other tribes deep inside the jungle. What she was doing, she had a husband. Back in December, he was on a bicycle. Some guy come in with a motorcycle, hit him. He was drunk, killed him. And what happened was he had a project started for her to build some walls around her house. Now her house wasn't like the walls the little buildings that you've seen earlier. It was old, beat up, dead wood. Now the Wednesday before, me and Danilo and Scott, we had go to look at a stack of bricks, try to keep them from getting wet, trying to figure out what to do because it just started raining. It just so happened to be right next to her house. It started raining, and here she come running at us, screaming, hollering, getting our attention. What happened was her wall had come in. Part of her wall, it was just some beat up tin nailed into some old rotten wood. We had, of course, obviously, we're there to help, obviously. We acted as quick as we could, put a few nails in that wall, put it back together, and let me just tell you, the places, just looking at that, just some tin and some rotten wood, and my little trailer. I am blessed to live in that little trailer. As beat up as it is sometimes, I think we are blessed to live in the places that we live. All right. So what we were doing with her was to start the project. We were going to finish what her husband had started, is build the walls around her house. Now we had some money in our budget. If you want to go watch the video, I encourage you to go watch this video. It is on my Facebook page with Mike and Eunice. But we had enough money in our budget to go buy her some doors and some windows, some good, solid wood windows and doors. And I wasn't there to see it, but Mike, he said, she had seen those doors and those windows. And she just rubbed them. Never, 45 years old, 40, 50 years old, never had a single door, never had a single window in our house. What a surreal moment. And I think I was telling Jeff the other night about this. We may not have the best doors. I don't know what the quality of our doors are here at the church. Well, we've got some doors and we got some good windows. It's the little things. The little things. And look, let me just say, in that church, there was no AC in that church. Their air control was fans. And most of the time, 9 times out of 10, it was hotter inside the church than it was outside. And it's 90-something degrees outside with 50-something% humidity. That's hot. I'm not one to complain about the temperature of the inside the church, but I will never again will I complain about the temperature inside the church. But Thursday we had also spent a little bit of time back with the Chacuna tribe. We had planned this day. We had kind of rearranged our schedule to make sure we went and played some soccer with the Chacuna tribe kids. Let me tell you something. Their bare feet, them kids can play some soccer. And it was hot, and it was just like it was nothing. Wore us dog out. We were having a good time with them. I think Susan there at the top middle there, she was doing some crafts with them. And if I'm not mistaken, we also had a little Bible study with the kids, but also spent another day trying to get to know them people. But before I move on, I forgot to mention Val. Val he helped us with the construction. He was being paid by Trent, who is working with the Chacuna tribe, Trent and Kay. But Val, he is kind of in and out of their what you would call the church. Sometimes he has been in some issues with his wife and his kids, as far as drinking and having some family issues. But Val, he has just recently, and you can just it's one of the things that you can just tell that God is trying to deal with his heart. And he'd actually messaged me after we had left, just saying hello. So you can just tell God is working in his life, and I think he's one of them that is wanting to go into seminary school here eventually. So he's working to get better. He's striving to learn more about the gospel of Jesus Christ. And then eventually them try to, I think there's a couple of them in that tribe that's wanting to do that. So Trent and Kay is trying to lead them along, do it the right way. But the Chacuna tribe in specific, they are babes in Christ, is what they are. They don't know. The thing that they have the most issue with them is this, what we would call a perfect worship. If you go out and do something on Monday, you don't deserve to be singing on Sunday in church. They are working with them. They are struggling with that, but they are working with them. So just remember to pray for them as well. But we had also, and I won't spend all that time, we had also went to a steakhouse that night, which was very nice, by the way. Now, if you're wondering, the American dollar is worth a whole lot in Brazil. So a steakhouse here is probably, for 13 of us, you're looking at probably $800 American dollars. But in Brazil, it's probably about $200 for all of us. So if you were wondering about the budget, that was well within it. But that's just a funny picture of those guys. We had ate a lot of meat. I think Mike and Scott in particular had the meat sweats that night. We had ate a lot of meat. But Friday was was our touristy day. We didn't mind going on the tourist. We were there to do a job, but they were gracious enough to give us a day to kind of be a tourist. And that is me holding a sloth. So Zeke, there's your picture that you were wondering about. That is a sloth and a monkey. And we had also got to swim with the dolphins there. They were the ugliest dolphins you had ever seen. I just want you to know that. The water is black, so you can't see them. So them rubbing on your legs, it's a little scary. But the bottom right, the bottom middle picture here is where, I don't remember where they're coming out of, but it's not the Amazon River. They're coming and they're going into the Amazon. But one river is going into Colombia, one river is going into Peru. And as you can see, those waters don't mix. And it's the temperature difference in the water and the minerals that's in it that don't cause them to mix. But like I said, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about that day. It was a good day to kind of get away from everything and do that. But Saturday was spent with another group of people. Mainly was spent with the indigenous people of the CDL community and the Chacuna tribe for the most part. But this right here, the far side pictures there, what is a Venezuelan shelter. So Trent and Kate were very fluent in Portuguese and Spanish, so they handled that with us. So you guys know the situation with Venezuela, how their country's going. So Brazil is one of the main countries that Venezuelans is going to. So what they're doing with the Venezuelans is trying to get them to get some jobs here in Brazil, obviously legally, doing it the right way, and then trying to get them at the same time, giving them the gospel, all at the same time. So that's a work in itself right there. And they're trying to, I think Trent and Kay are trying to set up some stuff with the government, try to help them apply for more jobs, do some stuff right there in that little community, in those shelters. But in that middle picture there, the Saturday, we had also spent some time at another pastor's house, which was another nicer place. We're going to get that here. We had some good food, good worship, good fellowship with those people that day. That's right there. That is in downtown Manaus, by the way. So I mean, as you can see, the difference between the other place, there's concrete asphalt. This asphalt is not like our asphalt. Okay, we complain about having potholes in our roads and our driveways. Their potholes were about the size of asteroids. Okay. So, I mean, you hit a pothole down there, you're probably getting stuck. And traffic's horrible. But that right there in the bottom picture, to the right, you can't really see it, but was the government, a big group of people, they're feeding the Venezuelans, trying to get them fed, do all that sort of stuff with them. But Saturday, we had also went back to the CDL community. Like I said, we done our main part was in the CDL community. We had some time with the youth there, some crafts, some balloon animals. As you can see, that little boy right there, that was actually a Jesus fish. He had just put it over his head. I think he was probably 4. We'd spent some time with them, sharing another Bible story. I think Tanner handled that again that day. Tanner is actually, by the way, he's a youth pastor. So that's the reason why he done a lot of the youth doings that we done, just to kind of get him to practice. But that is just a group picture of everybody. Down there at the bottom, next to the little girl, that is Josie. That's Anna, I think. And then to the far left of the bottom row, that is, why did I forget her name? But she is a journey girl. She does work for the IMB. She is supposed to be down there in Brazil for 2 years, learning Portuguese, learning the culture, and getting set to be a missionary for later jobs like that. Then right above her, I forget their names as well, but they have actually been in Brazil for about 30 years, doing work down there, doing just about the same thing as the rest of the team that was down there. They were just kind of helping us out while we were down there. But Sunday, like, I don't know which ones I've told about the church services down there, but the church services down in Brazil are completely backwards than we are. Our Sunday morning is more the dressier. More people come on Sunday mornings, it seems like, and then Sunday night is more the casual wear. Not as many people show up, but down in Brazil it is completely backwards. So Sunday morning, we had actually split the team up. Everybody but Mike and Susan went to the Chacuna tribe, have a little worship service with them, have a little Bible story. And there's a whole other story I can tell about that day, specifically with the Chacuna tribe, that I'm not going to get into. But if you're wondering about it, you can ask me later and I can tell you about it. But Mike had an opportunity to preach at that other pastor's church. And as you can see, the difference between the church, that church consisted of mostly the middle to upper class people. So it's a little bit nicer. That little girl right there, Mike said as he was preaching, she was drawing a little picture. As he said it, she drew it. And I think what Mike was preaching on was, I think it was over in Mark where they filled up, where the water was getting in the boat. He was preaching on that, and she had gave him that picture there. But Sunday night we had all went into the CDL church, and I don't know why it was, but it never, after hearing different languages throughout the week being sung, it never did hit me until Sunday night of how God was moving in those words. And I don't know why, because it's just a surreal moment to me just to watch God move in a totally different culture, in a totally different language. That's what kind of God we serve is. He can do those things, and we don't even realize. We just it goes in one ear and out the other. Like it's one of those things you just got to see to believe. You just got to be there. It's a different realization, I guess. But Lena had actually gave her testimony that night. She was requested to give her testimony. This was not planned for Lena to get up here Sunday night and give her testimony. But Lena's testimony, she had struggled with her parents and struggled with different things. A lot of the same things that the people in this community struggled with. And you could see God move in these people's lives because they could just relate to her testimony, how it moved them. But we had just a wonderful service. We had actually done the Lord's Supper that night. Mike was able to take place in that. But it was that is a group picture of everybody. Most of the members there. But I want to introduce a couple of people here that I forgot to mention during the construction days. His name in English is George. I don't remember how to say his name in Portuguese. But George had recently got saved. He is out of the Catholic Church. Catholicism, and I think Seventh-day Adventist is very rampant down in Brazil. But he had just come out. He got saved. He's working his way out of the Catholic Church. But they are trying to decide they're trying to decide and praying about what to do with him, whether he. Now, I'm on board with him leaving the Catholic Church. I'm good with that. But at the same time, George here can be a witness inside the Catholic Church. If he does this the wrong way, he has lost a lot of friends. And that will hurt a lot of relationships trying to give them people the gospel. So that is a very tender subject, tender thing to do as he transitions into the Baptist Association. But there's another guy, he's actually Josie's father. Josie's father is actually lost. They have been talking to him and dealing with him the past few weeks. And after talking to him a little bit, he is very close to getting saved. He was actually there at church Sunday night. But do pray for him because he's very close. You can see, I actually sat beside him that night as the worship was getting real. You could see him, I could see him out of the corner of my eye just sitting up on the edge of his seat. God was convicting him. Just pray for him. His name was Joseph. And I don't know how to say his name in Portuguese, but that was, just pray for him. That's just all of us right there. Danilo, Jeff, where's the, Danilo is right there. He played a big part in translating. The pastor there is right there. Just different members of that church. Just pray for that church and pray for that community. But I want to say this right here, as I wrap everything up, we have planted a lot of seeds. Like I said, I don't know how many people got saved. I don't know that. But seeds were definitely planted. If I said this, I want to say this, that the people that were the most blessed were those people right there. That was taken as we were leaving Atlanta. We left blessed, hearts full, and a desire to help those people. And a new outlook on our homes. Just by the simple fact that we have running clean water. They don't have that. We couldn't drink out of the faucet down there. They didn't recommend us brush our teeth with that water. And here we are. We can drink out of the hose if we wanted to. Just something to think about. And with Ayunisi, the doors and the windows, we have all that. That's just kind of second nature as we buy a house. If we ain't got a door, we're going to get one. These people ain't got the money to do that. Their pews were these plastic chairs. We're sitting on cushions. We look at this and we overlook the simple blessings that God has given us, and just air conditioning and doors and windows in our church. But I appreciate all the prayers as I went down there. You guys, if you ain't seen the video, you guys are absolutely part of my testimony. As I grow, as I continue to grow in Christ, I try to serve Him the best I can. But do keep praying for them people in Brazil and that mission team down there. I know they desire it. I know they need it. But I appreciate you guys. I love every one of you.